Well, hello guys. This is round 3 or 4, excuse me, at the Dallas Open GT here in Grapevine, Texas, and we are featuring a table 1 setup as well with Andrew Ford versus Jony Velazquez, Imperium versus Orks. We are joined by the awesome, never-ending, amazing Tau General Stephen Heitmeyer.
Well, thank you, Jason. Welcome, viewers, and it's a pleasure to be here.
That's cool. Well, you know, I think you've played Andrew a couple times. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the most spicy of the matches, very close match, was back in 7th edition. We were both playing a different version of Taudar over at March Madness in Arkansas, Conway. And but yeah, he's a great general. He's at a lot of top events. You can see him flirting with his top numbers, and it'll be interesting to see what he does here at the Dallas Open. So
that's cool. I think we still haven't started the round officially yet. I still think they're checking in players, but we do have a copy of Andrew and Jony's list. You know, I'm a dedicated Orc player. Been playing Orcs since 6th edition, when you can ally Eldar and Orcs in. So I basically brought a Stompa and 3 Wave Serpents, and that was a lot of fun. That was definitely.
I bet it was a lot of fun for you. Yeah,
yeah, it was. It wasn't really a lot of fun for my opponents, though.
Yeah, and so Andrew's playing the kind of a standard Imperial Guard list with some knights, so some command point generation through the list building, and some screening ability with some troops, and then he's got 3 knights. And so if you want, we can go into the lists. But
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been playing Imperium since 4th edition, and then I switched to Tau 6th, 7th, and then I've been flirting back with Imperium. So.
What is your just not to kind of get us off topic, but what is your current Imperium army that you're playing?
It'd be called Soup, I guess. The gist of it is the whole army can redeploy turn 1. So it's, you know, some Raven Guard, Blood Angels, Grey Knights, just trying to take advantage of every unit in Imperium that can redeploy themselves turn 1 and surprise that opponent by not expecting a turn 1 deep strike with.
Yeah, do you think that's highly effective from what your games you played?
It's very anti-meta. It's using like 30-40 storm shields, so anyone taking, you know, Castellan or something is not going to be able to put out a lot of damage against it. And then, you know, no one's really, well, I wouldn't say no one, but not a lot of people are thinking about screening or defending against turn 1 deep strike unless you're talking about Blood Angels. So it's been fun, I'll say that. You know, I've gone 3-0 a few RTTs, but I haven't taken it to a major or anything yet. So,
what's the first major you plan on going to?
Ooh, well, you know, I'm actually trying to train up for ATC this year, so that might be the first big thing it's going to. Yeah.
What team are you going with?
I don't even know if that's public knowledge yet, but there's a few of us that have been talking about the trip between Flying Bunkies and some others. So.
Ah, well, do tell. This is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so, no one's watching this anyway. This is not even being recorded, right?
Let's see how many people. Yeah. So the fun thing about planning and training, one of the fun things about planning and training for ATC is, you know, you got to coordinate. You know, you look at what's hot right now: Castellans, Blood Angels, you know, Smash Captains, things like that. And if 3 of the players are playing Imperium, you got to decide who's going to be able to actually utilize that codex. So it's like, you know, me and another guy have been jumping back and forth between like, well, I need Blood Angels. No, like I need them more. So you figure out how to play without them, things like that. So
it's I'm a big fan of ATC, kind of how their style. Actually, do they follow similar ETC style, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that, and it's just it brings like the team camaraderie together, and it's just a good team atmosphere. I'm actually considering doing a ATC style team tournament at the Halo in March of next year.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely Are you gonna do it at the same time as the Halo or separate?
So
like,
separate
can you
events.
play in one or the other?
Nope, it's totally two separate events. You know,
Right,
Halo's
March, that makes
obviously September, October timeframe, and then this ATC event would be in March, which is 6 months away, and it's kind of in between majors and GTs.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're not going to Adepticon, you can come here and participate in something really fun.
That would be great because our community hasn't really ever been exposed to it. There's been a few teams that have gone throughout the years to ATC, but it is a drive from this region, like all big events are, unless you're talking local. But I think it is just a great atmosphere. Not everyone's going to be able to bring a Castellan on their list, etc. So it makes people think outside the box, play outside the box, and really just shakes up the scene, something different. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I would think it also breeds that spirit of camaraderie, because I mean, there's nothing like the shit talking that.
There will be nothing like traveling in a rental van with 5 dudes.
I've actually experienced that, and depending on who's driving, it is.
And then you got to come back, right? So you better not ruffle any feathers.
Oh man, it was
stop at Taco Bell.
That was a fun trip. Yeah, no one had Taco Bell, thankfully. And we only had to stop for the bathroom a couple times.
Yeah.
However, there was musicals, which was pretty exciting.
Limit your lactose intolerant passengers.
Hey, we got home safely. That's all that matters. So, just so you guys know, they are still making sure, registering everybody. Sorry we got kind of off on a tangent and everything. But yeah, if you're in the chat, ask us some questions. Steven, go. Since we got distracted, go ahead and go through that list real quick.
Yeah, so I've got Andrew's list pulled up here, and it's similar to what he was running earlier this year. I was tracking him at an event, and he was running a grueling list that consisted of 3 Gallants, a Lancer, and a Castellan. So he's changed a little bit from that, but that is so much packed into the list. When he was running the 5, I think he might have ran into some trouble with some screening or some command points, etc. So what we got here is looks like a modified version of that. He's got in his Knight detachment, he's already house crashed, so he's getting the reroll hits on charges, which is really going to benefit the Gallant, unless he can get the Crusader and the Castellan in combat against some weaker units. But essentially, he's got his Castellan. He's using Call's Wrath, Iron Bulwark. He's already got it listed in his list here. Standard loadout. He's got a Crusader with a Stormsteer rocket pod, Avenger Gatling cannon, rapid fire battle cannon. It's pretty standard. He's got his Gallant. So we'll have to see if he chooses to spend more command points on those to further some relics or warlord.
Right. I think this is actually a really good list.
Yeah.
It's the 3 knights that would just eat me up all day long.
So what he's getting out of that is kind of like the Wraith Knight of 7th edition, right? You put something like a Gallant midfield and you demand board control from it. You try to make sure you put something out there that no one's going to want to come against. Like the match we saw yesterday, the fellow with the 3 Gallants, right? He controlled the middle of the board right away. I mean, his opponent put out one of the Nurgle tanks out there, but that was just kind of a speed bump, right? But when you've got a unit like that and your opponent doesn't, you're really going to just control the middle of the board. So that's what you're going with the Gallant. He's got the backline pressure with the Castellan and the Crusader. A lot of firepower coming out of that. And then his IG battalion here. Let's see. He's got the company commander. He's got a tank commander actually in there. So some more added firepower. He's got a unit of 30 conscripts. So I'm assuming that's going to be what's going to surround those knights and prevent anything from coming near them, like a smash captain, etc. You've got 2 more squads of infantry, 10 each. Probably some objective holders. He's got some wyverns, and that's about it. Those between that Crusader and that Castellan, you're taking up almost 1,300 points. There's only so much more you're going to fit in there.
Yeah, I can definitely agree.
I do like when people have lists like this and they sneak in something like a tank commander, because an opponent's, even if they, seize on you, whatever, get first turn, and they've got a lot of firepower, you're making them decide, are you gonna, you're still gonna have to spend let's say a Volcano Lance or something to kill that tank commander. Do you even shoot at that tank commander, or do you just put all your, your eggs in one basket and try to knock out the Gallant that's coming at you 100 miles per hour, etc. So
Right.
You can get a lot of value in your list by just sneaking in a 150, 160 point model that puts out a lot of firepower, but might not get so much heat.
Right, and it might be his secret weapon, as people don't really target the tank commander, because it's
basically an extra battle cannon, right? An extra rapid fire battle cannon.
Exactly, and it's almost like bringing in a smaller knight, to the battle, because it does have 14 wounds, toughness 8, 3-up save. I mean, just no invul. But
I've often said that they're better than an armature Helvern, because they're cheaper. They're toughness 8. It kind of depends what you're running them as, whether you're running them as Catachan or what's it called?
Or Cadian.
Yeah, Cadian. He's actually running Valhalla in here, which is interesting. And I'm assuming that's going to have to do with this 30-man blob of conscript.
I also think they can, if they fall back, they can still shoot. I believe so. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
Hold up right here. I've only, I dabbled in IG for about a year, but I only ever really messed with Catachan and Cadian.
That's cool. Well, I think it is definitely a solid list. There is a reason why he is 3-0 right now, and looking to go 4-0. Of the players that are here, we still have Nick Rose that is undefeated. Richard Martin undefeated as well. So there's still quite a few undefeated players. I think they will have at least 2 to 3 undefeated players, depending on ties as well. But there's still plenty of good players on the list that.
Yeah, we've got that local matchup. We've got Matt Baxter versus Cody. So Cody Middleton.
Oh,
they're both 3.
That's at a different tournament.
No, man, terrible. They snuck into the Dallas Open.
That's totally not accurate.
Yeah. Didn't you see him behind you there?
No, they're not here. I already saw.
Well, shout out to them. Because...
Whatever. Get out of here. Decided not to come with me down here to Dallas. But that's okay. We still love them. Not really. Okay. Let's see. But are those your teammates, or are you still consider yourself a monkey?
I don't even know if both of them are still considered monkeys. So I know like Matt
transplants.
See, there's a lot of mercenarying going around in the Midwest, or whatever region you want to call us. There's a lot of teams that try to form a competitive super hold over the region and recruit all the players, and then it's another team tries to do it the next year. So some of the players just get mercenaried out. It's kind of like Mech Warrior, man. We got the factions, and you got the freelancers that just get bought.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not very good, so I'm just a lowly old orc player. So with that said, let's go through Jony's list, who is playing Orks. To start off, the number one thing, he has the Evil Sons Battalion. So that Evil Sons gives you +1 to charge, which is super important when you're coming out of Deep Strike, because it's an 8-inch charge rerollable versus a 9-inch charge rerollable. So I've made
super good. Yeah, you're gonna make that good. Like 85-90% of the time.
Yeah, there's only a handful of times that I have not made the charge.
There's only a handful of times that the world has not made the charge, and I'm sure that you own half of them.
I own half. That's right. My shield captains own about 90% of that. So there's a funny story. I played Steven a couple years ago, and I had 3 shield captains, and coming out of Deep Strike, I think one had a 3-inch charge, and I failed all 3 shield captain charges, and then the next turn he proceeded to wipe me off the board with his Tau shooting. It was pretty terrible.
It was interesting. We were gonna start this big video series of battle reports, and
it got deleted.
Something happened to the tape. I don't know.
It definitely got deleted. I don't know how it happened, but it was just gone. So
those were 3 beautiful storm surges. They were all decked out with the
custom pro-painted job, right?
Well, I bought all those 3D printed parts online to make them look like they actually stand up like an Imperial Knight does, and they have like shoulders and arms and the enclosed cockpit.
And you sold those, right?
Yeah,
they're gone.
They're one of the many eBay products that leave my household.
Yes, Steven is definitely a eBay person. Anyway, okay, back to this orc list because it's pretty awesome. Okay, so he has War Boss, just like a regular War Boss, cunning but brutal with the Killer Claw, which is pretty awesome because he goes to Strength 12, I believe, and flat 3 damage, which is super awesome. Obviously, Weird Boy with the jump. Looks like 3 squads of 30 boys with 3 tank buster bombs and a squad of 10 with a tank buster bomb. You know, I really feel like in the boys, the hidden gems are those tank buster bombs because it is, I believe it's D6 or D3, I'm not 100% sure, shots for each tank buster bomb, hitting on 5s and 6s and exploding 6s with those bombs. So it's super awesome.
Yeah, that's nasty. Now, do they act like a grenade in 8th edition? Or how?
Yes.
Okay.
So
tank busters used to give me all kinds of problems in 7th when people would, fill the Stompafold and etc.
Yes.
Or the trucks or whatever, but I haven't really played against them in 8th,
so but the cool thing is that these are only on the boys. So for example, if you brought tank bustas, which have the rockets and the tank busta bombs, you can
you can kind of surprise someone by putting some of them in the boys and they're not.
Yeah, there's plenty of times because it's the bomb is strength 8 d6 damage, and so if one goes through, that's potentially 6 damage on a knight before you charge in. And so there's plenty of times where you can just whittle off wounds using your boys before having something heavy come in and just take down the knight. So I've had that happen. That's pretty awesome. Also in Jony's list, he's got a commando with tank buster bombs and 2 burners in it. He brought a battle wagon with a hard case. I'm assuming he's probably transporting the 10 boys possibly, because with the hard case you can't actually fire out of it. And then, or probably 10 boys and the war boss just to get up the field. And then he is bringing another spearhead detachment which looks like some tractor guns, 3 tractor guns, the traditional 15 and 10 Ludas for the Luda bomb. Obviously going to mob them up first turn. And to round out his list, he's got another unit of, it's like Bad Moons and tank and Evil Moon. Bad Moons and Evil Sons. Looks like Warpath took 2 weird boys. One has Warpath, one has Fist of Gork. Interesting. And then, oh, that's kind of cool. So what he also did is he took 11 Gretchen, 20 Gretchen, and 20 Gretchen. So there's basic, and in this mixed detachment, which you totally can do, doesn't get any benefits, which it wouldn't get any benefits from the battalion anyway, because it mostly has Gretchen and 2 weird boys. But he actually classified that there's 40 Gretchen for the Bad Moons and 11 Gretchen for the Evil Sons. So that's actually pretty cool. So the 11 Gretchen will protect the Evil Sons, and the 40 Gretchen will protect the Bad Moon Ludas. So I think that's an interesting choice. We'll see what happens. Typically, when I play this army, I obviously use the Gretchen to screen and do the Grot shields, and I don't really care if all my Gretchen die, because they're targeting the Ludas and Grot shielding the Ludas and wasting all their shots on Gretchen. So
yeah, so I did a quick model count here on his list. This is just an approximation, but he's got over 175 models in this list.
Wow, that's a lot. So Steven, why don't you take it away for a little bit? I'm gonna get these players mic'd up and ready to go, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think what's gonna probably happen here is Andrew's gonna be in a race to try to kill as many models and gain as many points as he can, and it's gonna be he's gonna need to get to turn 5 or 6, in my opinion, and still have his knights kicking out. He's gonna have to kill at least 20 to 30 models a turn in order to really clear this chaff out, because those Ludas are gonna be just tearing away. If he doesn't if he loses that Gallant turn 1 to those Ludos, it's going to be difficult because those Orks are just going to move up the table and start mopping objectives, and I don't think Andrew's going to be able to kill him fast enough. So it's going to be a race to the finish here. I think we'll see how much time is taken by both players on turn 1. That'll be interesting. I think turn 1's really going to develop the rest of the game, as it usually does. But I don't think this is going to be a cagey match whatsoever. I think both players are really going to get out there and try to do some damage.
Sorry, Steven, I'm actually still setting up the players.
Yeah, no problem.
So give me a second.
So see, Iron says he dip struck 3 of the melee Def Dreads, Evil Sons, and only made 1/3 of the charge. So Jason, you make half of the population in the world that failed the charges, and he makes the other half. Because I think only about 4 failed charges has ever happened. So I think what's really going to be interesting here is to see which out damages which. You know, you've got the classic Castellan build, but you have an Ork list that doesn't really care about losing models per se. So we'll see how much damage the Castellan's actually going to knock out compared to the classic Ork Luda build. That's very threatening to any Imperial Knight, especially if they start getting off upwards of 100 shots and start rolling really hot. So you can see our table here. That's Andrew Ford on the right. In the red, we've got our Ork player. Those 2 big pyramid runes in the center are going to be interesting throughout this match. You can probably hide quite a few Orks if you really get snug up against them. I don't see a lot of opportunity for a knight getting complete cover out of line of sight on this table.
Okay, and I'm back. All players are mic. I'm going to test their volumes real quick.
I will take... We need to pick... We need to roll for...
So, Jason, what's your guess? Who are you picking to win here?
I'm honestly picking probably Andrew to win out of here.
Okay.
I do have a poll on the stream you can take.
So I've actually played Kevin too, back when I was using that triple Storm Surge list in Arkansas, and he surprised me with a really nasty Ork Smite spam list. So I think it was round 5 in Arkansas of 2017, probably 2018. And he is a very crafty Ork player, so we're gonna have to watch and see. He's not gonna be someone that's gonna be struggling through the motions and forgetting many things. I think he's gonna pull some tricks out of his sleeves, and this is gonna be an excellent matchup.
Yeah, I definitely agree as well. Okay.
So I'm actually picking the Orks here as well. I just don't think that the Knights are gonna be able to put out enough damage per turn to deal. I mean, I think the Ludas have a better possibility than the Knights do of clearing them out. So.
You know, it's really interesting. We talk about board presence, and
that's awesome.
There's the Orks obviously have a lot of board presence, huge amount.
Exactly. Yeah. That importance of having that Gallant in the middle almost goes away when you're putting so many models on the table, because Kevin could just send wave after wave into that, and it's not going to kill enough per turn.
You mean
Gallant's
Jony?
going to get
2 up armor save. Okay.
Yeah, Jony. You've got this music by Kevin Glowed on here.
Just trying to confuse you. That's all.
Yeah.
So the players are going through all of their options right now.
I'm sorry? Can I borrow one of your extra pieces of paper of the previous rounds? Oh, sure. Because I can't.
Yeah, trying to shoutcast from a different location is a whole nother level, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, your video is definitely delayed.
Thank you.
Where are you from, Johnny?
From here, from
here?
Fort Worth.
Excellent.
I need to have one of those broadcasting
secondaries?
rooms at
Yeah,
like
let's do
a
those.
sports station, where they have like 15 screens and they've got all this information flowing.
Andy,
That would
Johnny.
be amazing for me.
Well, I've got to give a shout out to Andrew here, though. What a creative shirt he's wearing. That's probably, if we should probably start a segment on your stream where we rate like the most unique shirts people wear to events, because I know a lot of people have like a lucky shirt or just a favorite travel shirt. Andrew right now looks like he's on a Carnival cruise and he is just having a blast. I would give him,
I mean,
in my book, I would probably give that an 8 or a 9 out of 10 out of,
I mean, it's almost like he's a Tennessee Titans fan.
Yeah, I would say so. And you can see some history built in that thing, man. Look at that. A Super Bowl 34, thing on there. I'm not, I'm a huge NFL fan, but I don't have a lot of, the Titans
Yeah.
aren't really someone I follow.
It's going to be a good matchup. We can definitely guarantee that. And we're already having a lot of fun. When we shoutcast these events, it's definitely long, grueling days. And it's a lot of fun. So I think you guys, I've kind of lost my train of thought. I had a player that was shouting at me, and I was like, I'm not a judge. Go get a judge.
I'm gonna take.
And maybe we should also,
on your Millie night.
Look at what these guys had for breakfast today. Maybe we could start gathering metrics on whether your breakfast at a second day.
If you had breakfast, how much coffee have you had?
I'm gonna take Titan Slayer
So
all around.
So it looks like they're picking secondaries already. Let me grab that.
As funny as that is, there's a lot that goes into these bigger events that people, maybe just take for granted. There's definitely the factor of there's the scene that goes out, sees everyone that they haven't seen in a while, and they go, to some bars, and they get a couple hours of sleep to come back the next day.
This is true.
I definitely think you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you're trying to really be on the tip of your mind and go 2 or 3 more wins in a row.
I would definitely agree with that.
How many command points do you have?
I have 14.
You guys can use this to track. Or if you feel more comfortable.
Well, we can use this one.
Okay.
I have 6. That's pretty easy to keep track of.
Jony, do you need more dice?
But on the other side of that conversation, those guys might be the real winners here because, they're having fun no matter what happens.
Yeah. Hey, we were commenting on how awesome your shirt looks, Andrew, this morning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Hey, did you tell Andrew I'm the one over here on the line?
So let me hold on one second, Andrew. Let me turn it up real quick. So Andrew is commenting real quick.
Yeah.
Andrew, why did you wear your Titan shirt?
Because I have a Titan Legion. If you'll notice, I have custom decals of the Titans. These are the Sky Titans.
Let me zoom in. Also, I wanted to let you know that we have your good friend Steven Hetmeyer helping shoutcast this game.
Wonderful. Why him? He doesn't know anything about the game.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right.
Okay.
He said I don't know anything.
Yeah, he did.
My first job is gonna be the Commandos and D-Strike.
Okay.
So Andrew does have an awesome army set up. Let's see if we can kind of get zoomed in here to his army. So like he said, he has a Titan. He's wearing a Titan shirt because he also has a Titan army. So with custom decals. So we'll get zoomed in. Looks pretty cool. Here we go. There we go.
Yes, please.
Looks pretty awesome. Beautifully painted. So.
Thank you.
All right.
One thing that has always surprised me, Andrew has brought some of the most beautiful and creative armies throughout the years. For a long time, he played a Taudar list that was completely modeled as Necrons. So his Wraith Knight, his Scat Bikes, everything was basically Necrons riding Eldar vehicles, things like that, his Riptides, and it just looked amazing.
I left them in the previous
Yeah, he
table if you have
very
any
very
other-
creative, very
You have any
creative.
other more?
Other ones?
All right.
Any objectives over there?
Me-
5. Yeah, I got them all.
All right, I'll be uploading their missions here in a little bit.
So this is the one. Where's the mission?
So
Okay.
what those objective markers on your stream from that Knight versus Nurgle game, those were really cool, I thought, especially for having on a stream display, because you could really see if a model was in the objective or not, etc., where the objectives were.
No, the 5 objectives next time. So it's just those two.
Yes.
Place one objective.
Thomas Goatboy had those, and he's actually playing with them. I think he's probably playing with them all weekend. That is definitely something we are going to look at investing into getting. What I really liked about it is it had the
Big surprise.
3-inch.
Right,
Or,
the
like,
3-inch
outside thing.
around it. Yep, so you
Right.
can 100% without having to continually measure, look, move, wonder, not know. You always know if someone's in range of holding that objective or not. And that to me, it's like a no-brainer. Why haven't we been using that for years, right? That just was awesome.
Agreed. Agreed.
I think
mean,
one
as an
of the
orc
most
player, I would love that.
Oh yeah. One of the most
Wyvern over there.
convoluted things throughout the history of 40K has, once they've introduced objectives, is, the measurement around them and who's holding it, who's not, things like that. And that just kind of solves it, right?
Nobody come in back here. Stay off my
I mean, it really depends, though, also, like, where you're measuring from. Are you measuring from the center, like what GBW says, or are you measuring from the
Right,
edge
I
of
guess
the
that's
objective
as
marker?
well. You'd have to kind of have two versions, and depending on what tournament you're at. But, because those looked like it was measuring from the edge.
Inside the
Well,
battle area.
actually, I think you could do both based on what I saw. I think there was a
Oh, does it have
3-inch
two lines?
circle, diameter circle in
Like
the
the
middle.
old blast templates that had
Yeah.
multiple.
Yeah, and then
Maybe I
it had
should
a
just use one
circle
of
that
those.
was outside of 3 inches of probably a traditional poker chip.
How cool would it be if we found out that the old 5-inch blast marker or something like that was just the
Was still
perfect-
useful?
Yeah, because I know I've got like 12 in my closet.
I mean,
here.
yeah. Remember when we were like, okay, we're scattering and we're still flipping it over,
Oh
you know?
man.
So,
I finally invested in some of those Apocalypse templates for this Hatch Wraith Knight, because he had the Flamer template. He could use the 5-inch, 7-inch, whatever. I had some really nice custom-made ones that I bought on Etsy, and then like a couple months later,
we're like, 8th edition.
yeah, I think I eBayed them though. So
All right, we'll go over the objectives real quick. Secondary objectives. Start with Jony, my orc player. Rock on.
30-man
Titan
shooter squad.
Slayer, of course, because I mean, you
Yep.
got 3
Boy, that's a lot of
Titans. It's
guys.
pretty standard. Old school. And Kingslayer.
okay, wow. So what's really interesting about that is he's saying, I'm gonna kill your knights.
Yep.
He's saying, I either kill your knights or I lose this game. And he's also saying, I'm gonna kill something turn 1. So this will be an interesting matchup. I was kind of saying when you were setting them up, was I don't think this is going to be a cagey match whatsoever. I think these players are going to get into this game turn 1 and go.
Yeah, I think definitely the orc player has to like charge in and just kind of take a majority of the field away.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
That way
Well, and
there's
at the
board
same
press.
time-
Board press is going to be huge in this game for sure.
Yeah. Andrew needs to get this game to turn 4, 5, 6 and kill orcs every turn. He needs to just put the pedal to the metal and not stop firing those high volume weapons, because he's gonna have to.
Right. Looks like it is Hammer and Anvil deployment.
Okay. And so for Andrew, what did he pick? You got the Reaper,
Yep.
Engineers, and Butcher's Bills. So kind of the same thing. He's saying, hey, if I'm gonna win this game, I'm gonna have to kill 80 plus models, which I think is doable.